Good evening, everyone. This is the meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board for the Borough of River Edge. It is Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. The time now is 7:33 p.m. This meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board of the Borough of River Edge is being held remotely and recorded via Zoom due to Borough Council chambers unavailability and is in compliance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act and associated regulations. Notice of this remote meeting was published in the Bergen Record on October 6, 2022, posted on the front doors of Borough Hall and posted on the borough's website. The notice included the dial-in and login information necessary for public participation and access to this meeting remotely. A copy of the agenda for this meeting was made available on the borough's website near the posting of the meeting notice and included the dial-in and login information. During the public comment period of this meeting, if you would like to make a public comment, please press the raise hand button on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand. The board will address you by name or by the last 4 digits of your telephone number. You may mute and unmute yourself by pressing the microphone icon on Zoom or dialing *6 on your telephone keypad. You must state your name and address clearly prior to making a public comment. With that, I turn it over to Ms. Steinle. If you call the roll, please.
Yes. The mayor is absent, excused tonight. Mr. Caslin?
Here.
Ms. Boland is also excused tonight. Mr. Merman?
Here.
Mr. Pfeffer is also excused tonight. Mr. Cray?
Here.
Mr. Arkelian?
Here.
Councilman Kinigo?
Here.
Mr. Gibbons?
Here.
Mr. Esposito? I do not see him.
No,
Oh,
he's not gonna be here.
Okay, excused tonight. And Mr. Bastide.
Here.
And then also present is our plan. Mr. Behrens and Mr. Costa is excused.
Okay, thank you for that. For our next agenda item this evening, we do not have minutes yet of our June 14th meeting, so we will proceed to the memorialization of Grill House LLC, trading as Vado Cafe. Property is 570 Kinderkmack Road, River Edge, block 804, lot 2. Resolution granting site plan approval for food handlers license with variances. Draft of the resolution was circulated to the board prior to this evening's meeting. I open it to the board for comments or questions on the draft that was circulated.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Merman.
I've reviewed the resolution and I see it's in good form. I don't see any problems with it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Merman. Anybody else on the board? All right, I will ask the board for a motion on the resolution, please.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Merman. Thank you, Mr. Arkelian. Ms. Steinle, when you're ready.
Yes, and I'll only call those eligible to vote. Mr. Caslin?
Call me. Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Merman?
Yes.
Mr. Cray?
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons?
Yes.
Mr. Bastide?
Yes.
And Councilman Kinigo, I didn't have marked if you were at the meeting last week.
I was not.
Okay, all right, so then the motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Steinle. Our next item this evening is a completeness review for the applicant Critchley's Candies LLC. Property is 812 Kinderkmack Road. This is block 404, lot 1. An application for site plan approval for a food handler's license with a parking variance.
Good evening,
Mr.
Mr.
Barrett?
Chairman. Thomas J. Barrett for the applicant. This is, as you indicated, an application for Critchley's Candy, which, as I advised Mr. Merman before, has been at this location since 1957. And there's no application to make any changes to the site whatsoever. What's happening is the candy business or the store is being sold to Ms. Rossi. And as a result, she needs to obtain a food handler's license. And as we know, in order to get food handler's license, we need site plan approval. The site, as Mr. Behrens pointed out in his letter of non-compliance of May 9th, provides for 14 parking spaces. However, with the existing uses, the retail store, a karate school, and a apartment, a one-bedroom apartment, the borough's ordinances would require 19 spaces. Therefore, we need a variance for 5 spaces. In addition, I submitted to the board photographs containing pictures of the signs which currently exist and have existed for many, many years on the building. There's one on the north side of the building, there's actually 2, one for Critchley's Candies and one for the karate school. There's one on the front of the building, or the that would be the west side of the building. And there's an additional one on the south side of the building for the karate school. We don't have the exact dimensions of the signs, but I think it is evident from the photographs that are submitted that they are in excess of what is permitted by the ordinance. And we will have testimony as to, how long, at least the knowledge we have as to how long they've been there, et cetera.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barrett. I think Mr. Behrens is having some technical difficulties at the moment, so.
Yes, I
There it-
I just got him back. There we go.
Okay. there we
Yes,
go.
I've been listening and lurking. I apologize, but I shouldn't have any more issues, so apologize.
No problem.
Okay.
Before we get to Mr. Behrens, Ms. Steinle?
Yes, prior to tonight's meeting, I reviewed the proofs submitted to applicant's attorney and found them to be sufficient for the board to have jurisdiction to hear the application tonight.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Behrens?
Good evening. So as Mr. Barrett suggested, this is for primarily a change in tenancy to replace the existing or formerly existing Critchley's operation. There may be a parking variance required, and so the board so far has received an application as well as a site plan to assist the application. So it seems we have enough to proceed, given that there's not, it's my understanding, there's no internal improvements being made. So I think we can determine the application's complete at this point.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Behrens. Questions for the board? Okay, we'll look for a motion to determine the application complete.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bastide. Ms. Steinle, when you're ready.
All right, thank you. Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Councilman Kamigo,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
and Mr. Bastide.
Yes.
All right, the motion.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll move to the next section on our agenda, which is new business, Critchley's Candies LLC, 812 Kindercamack Road, Block 404, Lot 1, application for site plan approval in connection with a food handler's license and potential parking variances. Good evening once again, Mr. Barrett.
Mr. Chairman, Thomas J. Barrett for the applicant. I have with me 2 witnesses this evening, Rosanna Rossi, who's the contract purchaser of the business, and Rick Roman, who is the owner of the property, as well as the owner and operator of the karate school. I don't know if Ms. Steinle wants to swear them both in at once or one at a time, whatever. her
Yes,
preference.
I can do that. If you both raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but?
Yes,
Yes, I do.
All right, and please both state your name, spell your last name, and provide your town of residence for the record.
Rosanna Rossi, last name Rossi, in New Milford, New Jersey.
Richard Rohrman, Rohrman, River Edge, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Okay,
So-
Mr. Barrett.
Ms. Rossi, you are the contract purchaser of Critchley's Candy.
Yes.
And tell the board a little bit about how you intend to operate the business, or how it currently operates, and how, what if you're going to make any changes, et cetera.
Basically, they purchase chocolate from elsewhere and just resell it. So other than maybe making a few of my own creations with the chocolate, I intend on keeping everything pretty much status quo. So whatever they've been doing.
And what are the hours of operation that you intend to operate?
9 to 5.
Okay. And that's 6 days a week?
He's open 7 days a week with they're closed in the summer from the end of June to September, the first week of September.
And would you continue that, or do you think you'll try and stay open?
I'll probably stay open in the summer.
Okay. But other than that, there's going to be no real differences in the way the business operates.
No, not really.
Okay. I have no more questions of Ms. Rossi. I think Mr. Roman is able to better educate all of us as to the uses on the site, how it's operated, et cetera.
Why don't you proceed, Mr. Barrett?
Hi, Mr. Roman. And how long have you owned the property?
So I bought the building in 1999, and I've had the karate school since 1981.
In that location?
Yes,
So 42 years.
yes,
And so you're familiar with the use of the property.
thoroughly.
And what hours of operation for the karate school?
The karate school, the first class these days starts at 5:30. It ends at 7:30. The students are probably gone by 8 o'clock the latest.
So currently, there's no overlap between you and Critchley's.
No, there's no crossover.
And
Well,
Saturday.
sometimes on Saturdays, I have classes in the morning only from 11 till 1. So there's a 2-hour period where it does cross over with Critchley's, just on Saturdays.
and you're actually the occupant of the apartment on the 3rd floor, right?
Yes,
And so in your 42 years, have there been any parking problems on site?
no, the parking lot is pretty much empty. I've actually had people come to me, they want to use the parking lot for their own parking, and I say no.
So when you say you have people come, are they commuters? People who?
Yes, they want to use it, yeah, instead of the town parking space,
I see.
because they see the lot is often just empty.
So you've had no experience with any parking problems whatsoever?
No,
And is there any time during the year when there potentially could be a parking problem?
so on Valentine's Day, a few days before Valentine's Day, and Easter, probably like the week beforehand, it gets crowded. Those are the two big holiday seasons for the candy store.
And this is all based on your observation of either living or working on site.
Yes, it's been the same for those 40 some odd years.
And as to the signage, can you shed any light on the history? I mean, how long have those signs been there?
So the candy store signs were there long before me. I think it's when the store first opened, although I'm not certain, because when I was a kid, I used to drive by on Kindercamac. So the Critchley signs were there before me. The karate school, we got that. I had a partner with the karate school, and we applied for those back in 1981, 2, I guess. So that's been the same for however many, 40 years.
I see. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barrett. Mr. Barron's?
I don't have much at this point, other than I would ask or confirm rather that please confirm that there are no proposed site plan improvements. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay, and internally, other than the moving of some, tables or counter space, there's no major interior improvements. Is that also accurate?
That is accurate at this time. That's correct.
You've got the operational testimony. The site is what it is. It's been operated as it has been for a while, at least since I've been alive. And so, from a technical standpoint, the applicant is here. So I think the board could consider, approving the site plan as is, with the various non-conforming conditions that it exhibits, including a potential technical deviation in the parking requirement. And this is spelled out to some extent in my letter of denial, and it's also spelled out in the site plan application. The borough has clear parking requirements for retail, which the candy store would fall under, and also the one-bedroom unit. There's a question of, what should the basement karate school require? I think it's probably a good idea just to stick to a straight, based on square footage. I think my letter recommended 200. That could be a little stringent, maybe one space per 250 square feet, something to that effect. There are 14 parking stalls shown on the site. One is partially off the site. So I think for good measure, maybe just counting, 3 as being official spaces might benefit the property owner long-term. So, I mean, beyond that, I don't have much. It is what it is, and it sounds like it's going to continue as it has for some time, based on the testimony that's been offered.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barons. I'll open it to questions from the board. Let's start with Mr. Cray.
I don't think I have any real questions, just confirm, so the basic business operations are gonna happen at the same hours. Hours aren't gonna be changing other than possibly staying open during the summer. No interior renovations, no exterior changes, renovations, everything's gonna operate, kind of as is moving forward. Is there any deviation in any of these things that we need to consider?
No, just it's all cosmetic changes.
Okay. No, that's the only question I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cray. Mr. Busty?
No questions.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Eric Kelly?
I'm good.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Givens?
No, this seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you. Councilman?
So this is again one of those cases that we've talked about that maybe shouldn't land before the land use board, right? Because it's simply a change of ownership and nothing changes. Am I reading this right? Is this, I'm asking, this is what we had talked about possibly changing. I'm just going to keep bringing it up, but not only a few months left, but I think we should change it. These people shouldn't have to go through this, but of course I have no questions. I think it seems obvious. Welcome to town, and I hope you're very successful. And I
Thank you.
look forward to coming for strawberries, like I'm sure everybody else does.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, this is something that we talked about some time ago. Mr. Merman, turn to you.
Yes. Of course I have some questions. I know Mr. Coster is recused, and I would like to go over the site plan. I noticed you have some retaining walls on the property. The one that's shown on your site plan to the east is a newer segmental block wall, max 3 feet high. It looks like it was installed recently. Can you give us the approximate date?
At least probably 5 years ago, maybe. I have the records of it, but about 5 years.
I think you basically answered the question. It's relatively new is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Behrens, I note that it's 3 feet and lower. Is it that's the exposed face area height, the exposed face height of 3 feet. What is the borough standard? Is it 3 feet? I know Mr. Costa's not here, but do you know offhand?
When you say the standard in terms of the height that's permissible, or at what point it requires a fence?
Permissible without a permit.
I believe it's 3 feet without a permit.
I think you're correct.
let me back up. I think in every case, a wall requires a permit, but if it's less than 3 feet, it does not require engineering oversight.
That's
Because
what I was,
there's no structural review,
That-
right?
that's,
the-
that's what I was after. Okay, so that wall is relatively new, and, it's fine. The other walls that are shown are along Lincoln Avenue, and they're less than 3 feet. So there's no problem there. One of the items I'd like to discuss with Mr. Barrett, with your applicants, is I notice on the site, there is no handicap parking. And I also noticed that you recently resurfaced the lot, resealed it and restriped it. I would like to recommend that a handicap stall or be installed on the site. And the ideal spot for that would be the row along the north side of the building. If we were, and I'm suggesting, take the 2 stalls shown on the site plan, convert them into 1 stall and stripe it for a handicap spot, and install the appropriate signage. I recognize that that would impact the variance by 1, and since we already have a parking variance, we just adjust the number.
Could I ask a question, Mr. Merman? I
Sure.
understand, ADA parking requirement. I just wonder if because they're not making any changes to the parking, certainly we could request it, but also the access to the building requires going up and down stairs. So I just want to make sure that, if we lose a parking space, that it works.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I recognize they need, a ramp would be ideal, but I'm not suggesting it in this case. I've also tried to use the store, particularly in your busy seasons like around Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, etc. And I find that there is no handicap parking, and I find it extremely difficult having to use a handicap spot. And I think it would be appropriate. Furthermore, at least there would be a spot for a patron of the store. Likewise, for a parent or a grandparent dropping off one of the, I guess, the students of the karate school, it would be appropriate for them. So all I'm asking is that we put in a spot that would serve the people who use handicap parking. And I don't think it's really a big expense. It's just a matter of some striping and a sign. Mr. Barrett, would you like to respond?
Yeah, I'm looking at the map myself, and I just don't know how wide is, Rick, how wide is the reserve spot?
The reserve spot is wider than the other spots. I don't know by how much.
No, it's pretty big spot, the reserve spot. I'm not,
This way, but
go
Mr.
ahead.
Moan, this way we wouldn't lose the spot if that were to be designated, if the applicant would be willing to designate that space.
But it wouldn't serve the store.
Well, sure, because you have the
If
those
the
little curbs
reserves-
that, I forget what you call them, but anyway, you could get behind those, and then there's a walkway to the steps.
Yeah, that puts more of a burden on the handicapped person.
Yeah, I think so.
I
that'd
think.
work.
Mr. Barrett, the lot's
Yes.
been recently striped. I don't want to have to go disturbing all of that. I'm not suggesting that. All I'm saying is we take out the one stripe at the Kinderkamak.
Westerlymost stripe.
Correct. And I think part of that falls on the sidewalk that you were referring to. So if you take out that one stripe and we put in a handicap there, right there, with the appropriate sign that would serve the store and it could serve the karate school. It would serve a dual purpose, and what we would have to do from a variance standpoint is change the number. Grant one more spot for a variance. I think it would be very practical, because I've tried using the store, and it is difficult getting up the steps, yet true, but it is convenient to walk straight towards the steps from a parking spot.
So I have to turn to my clients and ask them if that would
Sure.
be amenable.
Well, if we're gonna put one in there, I'd rather put it in the front. That would be more convenient, like you said, right by
Alright.
the stairs.
Okay. Therefore, yes.
All right? Great, wonderful. One other thing on the signs. How do we handle that in the variance? We say nothing about signage. We recognize it's existing. Should we be mentioning it somehow to baseline it at this point, or what, Mr. Behrens? I'm not certain.
I think we could qualify it a few ways. I mean, we don't know the exact dimensions, so we could accept the sign that exists if it in fact is non-conforming on a building like this. We would typically allow up to 20 square feet, so it may very well be within that parameter. If not, we would accept it as a pre-existing non-conforming condition.
Okay, and would it help if we included somehow the photos in it so it's baseline?
I think including that in the record would make perfect sense, yes.
Okay, all right. I really don't really want the client to go providing an inventory of the signage. That doesn't really make sense at this point. But I
Right.
do recognize that we probably should somehow record that the signage is baselined for planning purposes.
So can we, Mr. Barrett, could you send us an image of the front of the building or, just a depiction of all signage if we don't already have that?
I think we have it.
I had submitted that.
Yeah, okay, I don't think I have it, but,
Mr. Alter,
you may very well have received it. It's not
Yes.
fine.
if not, I can send it to you.
Yeah. okay.
I have a copy in front of me, so it's been sent to board members, I
Yes.
believe.
I sent it to every board member.
Right,
Okay, well, I must have missed it, but thank you. Yeah, that makes sense, Mr. Merman. Thank you.
okay. With that, I've made my couple of little comments, and I thank Mr. Barrett for being very cooperative.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mervin.
Right.
I have no questions on this application. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to open to the public for public comment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Eric Kelly. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Postee. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed and abstained? There being none, we're now open to the public. Steinley, I don't believe we have anybody in the public.
I do see someone, Tak Kobayashi. If you would like to make a comment, please raise your hand on Zoom or dial *9. I don't see a raised hand, so I think we're good.
No, okay. Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting to the public on this
So moved.
application. Thank you, Mr. Eric Kelly. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Givens. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed and
Aye.
abstained? Okay, there being none, we're now closed for the public session on this application. Any further comments or questions from the board?
So I just wanted to clarify, the parking
Sure.
would be 12 stalls and 1 ADA stall. That would be what would be based on what Mr. Behrens explained, that although there's 14 stalls depicted, there's only 13 official stalls on site. So if the board approved variance for parking, it would be for 12 stalls and 1 ADA stall.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Further comments or questions from the board? All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion on the application, please.
Nobody wants to volunteer?
If you're willing, Mr. Merman.
Okay, well, I'll let somebody else try, but okay, I'll start it out. We can always build it as usual. Regarding Critchley's, located at 812 Kindercamack Road, block 404, lot 1. That site plan approval be granted for the purposes of a food handler's license, and that several improvements to the site plan be included, which is handicap parking, which would be installed in the row of parking adjacent to the north face of the building, and at the east side, Kindercamack side, that one current striper would be removed, creating a handicap spot and the standard handicap sign installed. Further, that the parking variance will be, as we stated, reduced to 13 plus, I guess, one handicap. The signage, existing signage on the building be baselined, I guess, with the submittal of appropriate photographs, which the applicant has already submitted with the application, and they be included as part of the resolution. Did I miss anything?
Mr. Chairman, I just believe though that Mr. Merman misspoke when he said east side. I think he meant the west side of the property.
Correct, yes,
West
you're
side,
right,
yep.
yes. You're
I took
correct.
it to be the east side of Kindercamack, but west side of the property makes,
Okay,
we're good too. We're covered. You're
all
right.
right.
All right, may I have a second on the motion, please?
I'm gonna do the hard part now and say I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Arkelian. This timely when you're ready, please.
All right, Mr. Kaz,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes,
Mr. Craig,
Yes,
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes,
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Bastige.
Yes.
All right, the motion passed.
thank you. Welcome
right.
aboard.
Welcome to River
Congratulations.
Edge.
good luck. Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Have a nice night. Have a nice weekend.
You too.
Thank
Go
you.
good forth.
All right, bye.
Take care. Next, we have nothing left on the agenda this evening, other than moving into executive session, which it's 8:05 now, or 8:06. So,
Mr. Kaplan, I just one thing real quick.
yes, sir.
So in the beginning, we discussed how this application maybe not be brought before the board. And again, it goes to the reasoning, it gives us an opportunity to take a look at these commercial properties. Had this not come before the board, the handicap spot would not have been allocated to the store. So again, that's one of the reasons why we do this. I know it's tough on the owners to come in for what could possibly be an automatic approval. But in this case, again, we thanks to Mr. Merman, now we have a handicap parking spot on the location, and we wouldn't have had that had it was just been broadly approved. And that's why we do this. I know it's not the best thing in the world for some owners, and it can be a little costly at times, but that's kind of why we take a bite at the apple when we get it.
Fair point. Thank you. Further comments? Okay. Maureen, I don't think our link for our executive session starts until 8:30, is that right?
I think I can start it before then.
Okay,
But I have to close, I can't have two Zooms going on at once. So
that's
yeah.
fine. Would everyone prefer that we keep going? Do you want a small break? We reconvene at say 8:15? In the executive
Well,
session?
I think maybe we should, I'm recommending or suggesting that we sign off and sign back on to executive session separately at an appointed time, which you might want to move up to 8:15 or whatever is more convenient.
That's kind of what I was suggesting.
Yeah, it's 8:15 works.
All right,
If I could just chime in, Marina, is it accurate that for the same reason as Mr. Costa, that I'm not allowed to participate?
Yeah, yes, we'll only be discussing potential litigation, so you don't need to participate in the executive session.
Just to explain to the board, and what was explained to me is that if a professional other than the attorney is to participate, the attorney-client privilege gets lost on the professionals, meaning that a professional other than the attorney could be disposed or subpoenaed to have to provide information in terms of what was discussed. So I just learned that today. So that's the reason. I was expecting to attend, but I cannot, unfortunately. So just wanted to
Okay.
throw that out.
fair point. Thank you, Mr. Barron, for the information.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Alter?
Marina, is it feasible to just continue this session and declare it an executive session instead of logging out and logging back in?
I prefer, Mr. Alter, that we log out, log back in just
Okay.
for
Security purposes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that anyone has this link as well, so
So
it
I
should
would-
be
I
a
would-
separate link that wasn't published publicly.
Correct. All right,
And
so it's.
I have a quick question for Ms. Stenley. By my count, we only have 5 members that will be able to attend the executive. Is that enough people?
Yeah,
Executive session.
5 is okay.
Okay. All right, so it will reconvene in the executive session at 8:15. It is now 8:10 PM. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr.
And-
Cray.
make a statement on the record that the board will not return to open session. The board will adjourn the meeting in executive session and will not take any further action.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Staley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, we stand adjourned at 8:11 PM. See you
Good
all
night,
in a few minutes.
Dario.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Okay, see you later.